We're going to start chapter 12 talking about scatterplots and correlation. And a lot of the stuff that we'll start out with is going to feel very familiar to you because you've been doing it all through high school. So we're going to be working on linear regression. It's a mathematical tool used to look at the relationship between different variables. So we want to be able to see if one variable can predict another variable. One of the ways we do this is by creating a scatter plot. And so these are just some definitions. You can look them up in your book as well. But you guys know what a scatter plot is. It is a graph that has 1 point for each pair of data. Okay, and we plot that and we take a look at what kind of patterns we see. Now, we generally have a couple different things. We have two different variables. One's called the independent variable and the other is dependent. So usually your independent variable is x and your dependent is y. Some other things that we can use to refer to them, we can call the independent variable the predictor variable or the explanatory variable. So it's the thing that's changing and it's causing something to happen in the y variable. The y variable is the response or the dependent. So, explanatory. So we would call these x values, and a change in this value influences a change in the other variable. Okay, we'll leave that for our definitions. Good. And then a response is going to be our y values, and this variable is somehow influenced by the explanatory. Okay. Now, what we're going to be looking for, particularly today, are linear relationships. There are definitely other relationships that can happen between variables, but this chapter in particular focuses on linear relationships. And so this is going to be a scatter plot with points that are in a line, okay, roughly in a line, okay. It doesn't have to be exactly in a line, and you've all seen scatter plots. We'll see lots of them today. So a positive slope is if as one variable increases, the other variable increases. That means we have a positive slope. And then a negative slope as one variable increases, the other variable decreases. Okay, so just some real quick terminology for our scatter plots. Now, we can create scatter plots a couple different ways. I'm going to show you both on Desmos and using your graphing calculator, just so you know how to do them, because we'll need that the rest of the chapter to be able to see these. It's a lot faster than doing them by hand. So the first one we're going to use is Desmos. There's data on page 812, so open your book to that page so that you can see it. Now on page 812, it has 3 different columns. This time we're only looking at 2 of them. So the table on page 812 has 10 different quarterbacks, the number of passing touchdowns that they have in a season, their salary, and their quarterback rating. So this time we only want to show a relationship between salary and the number of touchdowns. So we kind of have to think about which one we want to do as our, which variable is which on this. So we have to think about, well, what would be the explanatory variable and what one depends on the other. So I would probably say that x is going to be the number of touchdowns because that would predict the y value of salary, right? If you're throwing more touchdowns, your salary is going to be higher, you would think. That could be wrong. So that's what we're going to do when we go to Desmos. So let's pop over to Desmos. That's not it. How about that? All right, so to create a table of values in Desmos, you go up to this plus sign, add item, and you can insert a table, and then you just enter in the values. We've done this before, but just to remind you. Now, I've already done this, so you didn't have to watch me type all these numbers in. Okay, so over here is our number of passing touchdowns in the X column, and then the base salary. These are in millions of dollars. And so we're going to have to zoom out so we can find the scatter plot. There it is. All right, and we want to see what kind of relationship exists here. Is it a positive slope? Is it a negative slope? Is it none? And I would definitely say there's no linear pattern here, okay? Hard to see anything. This seems a little bit random, okay? So we created our scatter plot, and we've determined there's really no linear pattern to this. Now, we're going to use the TI to look at a different relationship, this time between the number of touchdowns and the quarterback rating. Okay, so again, number of touchdowns is going to be my X value, and then the quarterback rating will be the Y value. So when we do this in the calculator, you're going to put your data into L1 and L2. We're going to turn on our stat plot and zoom stat. So I'll show you how to do this all. There it is. So you're going to go into stat and edit and put your data into L1 and L2. I already did that just so you didn't have to watch me type it all in. Except it doesn't look right. Oh yeah, so I was looking at the wrong column. Okay, so yes, number of touchdowns, and then this is the quarterback rating. That's why it's different. All right, remember stat plot is up here above your Y, so you're going to go second and go to stat plot. These probably all say off on yours, okay, but doesn't matter. We'll go check it out again. So you'll hit enter for number 1. If it's off, you want to turn it on. And then you have to pick the type of graph you want. The very first one there that's highlighted is a scatter plot. We can do histograms and box and whisker, but we don't want that. This is just asking where your data is. So everything's fine there once you turn it on. Now, if you just hit graph, it's going to go to your standard viewing window, which is not helpful. So you want to go to zoom and then go down to zoom stat. And that's just going to adjust the window so you can see it. So remember, this is your number of touchdown passes. This is the quarterback rating. And this clearly has a linear relationship. And it would have a linear relationship with a positive slope. All right, so the other thing we want to be able to talk about is whether these things are going to have a positive slope, a negative slope, or not follow a straight line pattern. So let's see for this one. The number of hours you study for an exam and the score you get on the exam. Well, as the number of hours that you study increase, I would think the score you would get would increase. So we'll call this one a positive slope. All right, the price of a used car and the number of miles it has. So as the price of a used car goes up, that probably means it has fewer miles. That's why it's more expensive. So this is probably going to be a negative slope. All right, C, the pressure on a gas pedal and the speed of the car. So as the pressure increases on the pedal, the harder you push down, the speed of the car goes up. So that's going to be another positive slope. And the last one is shoe size and IQ for adults. So as shoe size goes up, what about IQ? It is not really a relationship there, so we'll just say no relationship. That's going to be just a scatter plot. Remember, we're talking about adults here. Okay. We will talk a little bit more about the slopes and linear relationships in the next video.